Hello everyone. Welcome to the U.S. Immigration News. As we move into early 2026, many of you are doing what you've learned to do over time, watching carefully, not rushing to conclusions, and trying to understand where things may be heading next. The February Visa Bulletin has not been released yet, and that's important to say clearly from the start. But this period between bulletins is often when the most useful questions come up. Not about exact dates, but about direction, preparation, and what the early signals are telling us. In this video, we're talking about what families and workers can realistically expect from the upcoming February 2026 Visa Bulletin based on how early bulletins usually behave, how January has positioned the system, and what official agencies are signaling as we move deeper into 2026. If you are liking this video, please hit the bell button, subscribe, and like it so that you may get updates straight to your smartphone. Now let's get into the video. When it comes to the Visa Bulletin, context matters more than speculation. The bulletin is published by the U.S. Department of State, and it reflects a balance between visa availability, demand, and processing capacity. It does not move randomly, and it rarely surprises those who understand its patterns. That's why, even before February is released, we can still talk meaningfully about what typically happens at this point in the year without crossing into prediction or guesswork. Early year bulletins, especially those following January, tend to be measured. January is often about setting a baseline after the holiday slowdown. February then builds on that baseline, either confirming stability or signaling caution. Dramatic forward movement is rare in February, but so are sudden reversals. Historically, this is a month where the system tests its footing. For family-based green cards, many viewers are watching priority dates closely. Immediate relatives of U.S. citizens remain outside numerical limits, but that does not mean fast processing. In recent years, even uncapped categories have experienced delays due to interview backlogs and staffing constraints. What matters heading into February is not whether a category is current, but whether cases are actually moving through interviews and final decisions. Preference categories operate differently. These categories are directly tied to numerical limits, and movement depends on how many visas were used in prior months and how many cases are documentarily ready. At this stage, families should be watching for consistency, not speed. Steady month-to-month movement, even if modest, is usually healthier than sudden jumps, followed by freezes later in the year. Employment-based green card applicants are approaching February with similar caution. Demand in several employment categories remains high, especially after heavy filing periods in previous years. Employers and workers alike are hoping for forward movement, but most understand that early 2026 is more about managing inventory than accelerating approvals. This is especially true as agencies try to avoid retrogression later in the fiscal year. Another important factor shaping expectations for February is how USCIS is choosing to use the Visa Bulletin charts. Each month, USCIS announces whether applicants can use the dates for filing chart or must rely on final action dates. That decision often tells us more than the dates themselves. When USCIS allows broader filing, it suggests confidence in capacity. When it restricts filing, it usually signals caution. As of early January, USCIS messaging has leaned towards stability rather than expansion. That does not mean filings will stop, but it does suggest that February is likely to continue a controlled approach. For applicants, this reinforces the importance of readiness. If filing becomes available, having documents prepared makes all the difference. Families waiting abroad are watching a different part of the system. Even when priority dates are current, cases must move through document review and interview scheduling. The role of the National Visa Center is critical here. Early year patterns at the NVC often determine whether spring and summer interview capacity will improve or remain constrained. What we are seeing so far in early 2026 is a focus on clearing existing backlogs rather than opening new ones. That's an important distinction. When agencies prioritize cleanup, Visa Bulletin movement tends to be cautious. This may feel slow, but it often prevents larger problems later in the year. It's also important to address the emotional side of this waiting period. Many families have learned, sometimes the hard way, that reading too much into rumors or unofficial forecasts can lead to disappointment. The absence of a released February bulletin does not mean nothing is happening. Behind the scenes, cases are being reviewed, numbers are being calculated, and capacity is being assessed under the Trump administration. Immigration policy remains a politically sensitive area, but the visa bulletin itself is driven more by math than messaging. While broader policy debates influence enforcement and funding, bulletin movement reflects operational reality. That's why experienced observers look at patterns, not headlines. For applicants deciding what to do right now, the advice remains practical. Make sure documents are complete. Respond promptly to any requests. Avoid unnecessary travel if your status is uncertain. And most importantly, plan based on what is confirmed, not what is rumored. February, when it arrives, will not answer every question. But by understanding how this moment fits into the larger annual cycle, applicants can approach the next bulletin with clearer expectations and less anxiety. This period between bulletins is not wasted time. It's preparation time. And for many families and workers, preparation is what turns opportunity into progress when dates finally move. That's all we have for this bulletin. The U.S. Immigration News Channel provides all necessary visa information and procedures for your U.S. immigration journey. It is important to understand the United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, processing times, forms, fees, and more. We will continue to provide all information about U.S. visitor visas such as B1 and B2, work visas such as L1A, L1B, and H1B, student visas, green cards, immigrant visas EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visas. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the U.S. Immigration News Channel.